Hello, Artful Kids. This is your teacher, Mrs. James Sharp. Today we're going to look at the art of Wyland. And we have probably already talked about him, have seen a video, and looked at some of his beautiful ocean, marine life paintings. All right, and he's also famous for his walls, his murals, his whaling walls or undersea walls. So yeah, we've learned a little bit about the artist of Wyland, and today we're going to do paint our own whale tail. I've been using one of his paintings for my screensaver on my background on my big computer. So yeah, that's a huge whale tail coming out, and notice the water. So this is what we're going to look at today, how the water drips and comes off of his tail. I know we're getting a little bit of a glare here, but if you can see the water coming down off of the tail. That's what we're going to be working on today. Well, let's get to our project. Okay, so to make our Wyland whale, the first thing we're going to do, now if you're a younger student of mine, we are going to take this template of the whale tail and we're going to trace it. Now, if you're an older student and you're doing this at home, or if you happen to be doing this in class, you can draw the tail yourself. So we're going to start with the tail down here, and then we're just going to hold it down. Remember, when we trace, we hold it down, and we just trace around so that we can see it well. If you make a little mistake like that, don't worry about it. And then just bring it right off the page. Don't make the little line at the bottom there. Just bring it right off the page. So there we have our whale tail. All right, now the first thing you're gonna do, now we're gonna work at centers. So at one table will be the white paint. And the first thing you're gonna do is paint the whale tail white. All right, now it's white on white, so it's gonna be hard to see for right now, but we're gonna fill in the water in a minute. All right, so we're gonna just fill that in, and you don't have to make it super smooth. You can have texture in there where you can see some of the brush strokes. That's okay. And if you go outside of the lines a little bit, don't worry about that either, okay, because we're gonna just paint right over all of that. Okay, and there we go. So let me just make sure. So just loading that brush up with paint, and there you go. And when you feel like you've completed the tail, all white, then you're gonna put your brush back and you're going to move to the next table. All right, and on the next table, and I'll show you in class, you're gonna have blue paint. All right, and we're just going to paint the water now. So we're gonna paint the background, or not the back, well, I guess the water's the background. It's behind, so yeah, we're just gonna paint the water now. I'm just being really careful here to paint around the tail. And just like I said, if you get a little bit of his tail outside, it doesn't really matter. All right, and there we go. So there is the water. All right, now if you paint over the on the table a little bit, don't worry about that. That's why we will clean it right up right after you're done. All right, so there we go. Now, the next step, we've got our water in, and now we're gonna take the same brush that we used. We're just gonna wipe off as much of that paint on there as we can. Now there's still gonna be paint, but just any blotches of paint, wipe that off. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna blend now. So we're gonna blend some blue in with the white. All right, see how that's really light? You don't have to cover the whole thing. but just get a little bit of blue, just like you do clouds. I think we've talked about that with clouds before, where you have white clouds, but if you add just a little bit of blue, it just makes it look a little more interesting. All right, so we're just going to blend that in, and you don't need to add any more paint. Just use that whatever's left on that brush and in there. All right, and then when you feel like you've gotten enough, then that is fine. All right, there we go. All right. Okay, now don't worry if there's a little bit of white on there, or if you're getting blue when you're painting your water, if there's a little bit of white, it won't really matter. Okay, and then if you want to fix that up a little bit. All right, so now we've got our whale tail and the water, and now what we're gonna do, we're gonna go to the next table where the last area. And here you're gonna have, your paint might have some blue in it, and that's okay. Because we're going to add the water flying off of the tail, just like in the picture I showed you. So there's going to be water dripping down off of the table, and we're going to be painting inside this blue area. So the brush will get a little bit of blue paint on it, and that's fine. Just in here, just make sure not to stir this up and mix this up. We don't want light blue. If we mix this all up, it would end up to be light blue. It's okay if there are little blobs of blue in there, because we can always get to the white blobs, all right? But if we mix it, then it's not, then that doesn't work anymore. So we're just going to make water. So you can do this in a few ways. You could do lines, and when it starts getting, the white starts going away, just fill that up a little bit more. You could do dots, or you could do wavy, okay? But we're just kind of making the water streaming down off of his tail. All right, just like in the picture. And if it gets a little dark, just get a little bit more water on there. All right, water streaming down. All right, and then in here, if that gets a little bit, you could just tidy that up a little bit like that. Okay, all right, now for the other side. Water streaming down. And do you see how that just kind of blends? It looks kind of neat like that. I love blending colors. Try dots. Sometimes it kind of looks like water's coming down in dots. All right. All right, and you just kind of do that to where you are happy and satisfied with it. And then again, if you want to go through and just clean that up a little bit where you added your water. And there we go. So there's our whale tail with water streaming down. All right. Okay, so that's the basic fun project there. All right, I hope you have lots of fun.